All right, we are back. So we have finished up the origins of language. We've finished up teaching reading using phonics as a science. And now we're looking for just a couple of minutes at teaching reading using phonics is an art. So we all know that teaching can come down to these evidence-based practices, but in the end, there are lots and lots of variables that have to do with you, the way you teach, the way your children learn, who your students are, and all sorts of things about their background and their knowledge and their language and all of that. So a couple of things that we'll consider throughout the semester as we are thinking about how the children and the adolescents you work with learn. We'll talk about whole and small group instruction. We'll mention it here, but we'll think about throughout the semester when it is best for each concept to have whole and small group instruction. In general, as you all know, we should use whole group when we're thinking about shared reading and writing, when you're engaging in those processes together and you want discussion with a bigger group. You can also use it for mini lessons on new content that a majority of your students need, and then you would work into small groups after that. When should you use small group? Definitely for the differentiated and targeted skill instruction, and also to give detailed feedback to students. So depending on the focus of the lessons that you are in phonics, you may want to make them whole group, you may want to make them small group. It will all be based on your students and their needs. And we'll also want to think about the art of VAKT lessons, so visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and tactile lessons. We know that just like we need to use whole and small groups sometimes, and individual lessons sometimes as well, we also need to think about the different needs of our learners and whether they appreciate visuals, whether they want to get their hands on something and be tactile with letter cards, whether they want to dance out the sounds in words, whether they want to hop from letters on a word map to spell things out. There are so many different ways that we want to engage children in learning, and oftentimes we use auditory and visual, and we don't often or as often think about the tactile and the kinesthetic ideas. So as we are creating lessons, as I'm doing mini lessons, as you're doing mini lessons, we'll want to think about these components. Are we paying attention to all learners? So there's that art there. Making sure your content is sound, making sure your practices are evidence-based, making sure you're balancing all of that in a reading program that includes lots of ways of teaching reading, but then also, are you thinking about your individual learners in how you're presenting your lesson to them? All right, so that's it for right now. That was a lot of content this week. A lot of different ideas were covered, and you may feel a little bit overwhelmed and like there was a lot going on. There was. In future weeks, I should not have to use multiple screencasts to get everything out. We should be able to be a little bit more applicative when we're looking at the content. We'll be doing model lessons, that sort of thing. But this week, it was really just trying to get that overview and that background in the research. Hopefully you engaged really fully in the activities, you've looked at the research, you've done your readings, and you've engaged with websites as well. So you're at a good place right now to begin thinking about, okay, there's the overview of the instruction, and now I can speak to why phonics instruction is important and also how it could fit into a larger program, because we don't want to just use phonics. This is one component of a balanced literacy program. But once again, just to recap, your responsibilities this week are to read all of those assigned texts, which you have likely already done. You've engaged with this screencast, and you've likely already engaged with the activities and the websites that are embedded within it. If you haven't, please do that as well. And you need to upload all 4 assigned activities. Those were 4 discussion threads this week. And complete the quiz for week 1. That should be the last thing that you have to do at this point, and all of the readings and the materials you've looked at have prepared you to do so. So good luck on your quiz, and I will see you again soon. Please email me with any questions or concerns you have. Have a wonderful week.